This is a 2.5-year vision by Nafisa Collier and her husband, Alex Bazell. Of course, Brianna Stewart has now hopped aboard in the finding of the league, but everyone's just so, the people, and Brianna Stewart has mentioned this a few times, the people are fantastic behind the scenes. There's a belief in one another around the league. Everyone has kind of bought in as far as like no one's bigger than anybody else. Everyone's treated each other so well. So yeah, I know that's not answering a question about the basketball, but I want to get that out there. Like everyone has been super awesome for what they've done here. Just outside of Miami, building, this facility, and I'm sure we'll jump into that has done everything. They've covered everything. Nafisa and Brianna have covered everything in terms of what they need for these women to feel ready to play every night, to feel they can bring their families here and make the experience exactly what these players need for when they end up going back to their respective markets next summer. But they've both been very adamant about how they're so proud of the surrounding cast they've had in terms of the work. As far as basketball, wow. The pace of play has been faster than I imagined. When it's a 72-foot court, 3x3, we've said this on the air a few times, I think, because we're trying to remind folks the rules, just slipping in some notes about the rules, just in case we get a new viewer. That's the key to this, with broadcasting too. You never know who's watching. You never know. You might get someone new to attention grab. But Justin, I would say the pace of play, no doubt about it. And what I never really thought of this, like these coaches set so much tone with their energy. You can't hide anybody out there in 3-on-3. So when you watch Shakira Austin, Ray Burrell, Kate Martin, some of the young players with Mist and Rakia and Aaliyah Edwards, I think it's really cool that those players are getting real impactful minutes and that they're really peeling off another layer of what their games are capable of. So I know we're going to have, there's stars, right? The star player is the star player. Totally understand that for folks that tune in. And that's the marketing tactic. Hey, we got the biggest stars in the world. But for some of these younger players that are still trying to get their feet wet, you don't really get opportunities in the W in terms of your playing time. Like you get drafted, you hope to make the team, and you hope to crack a rotation. When you only have a 12-team league, and it will be 13, there's no real, like, this is it. Like, Athletes Unlimited, Unrivaled, there's no real opportunity to, like, grow your game and maybe prove to people that you belong. So I think those players have been really, I apologize if I missed somebody, but those kinds of examples, that's been pretty neat.
Can you give a quick rundown of how the league works, just in terms of maybe some of the rules set and then just how it differs from the WNBA in regards to the playoffs, and then also you have a 1v1 tournament as well. What's the distinctive features on Unrivaled compared to other women's leagues out there?
Yeah. Well, the postseason will be in March. It'll be 4 teams get in of the 6. Single elim. As far as the rules on the court, shot clock is different, of course. I mentioned the court in length is different. Shot clock's 18 as opposed to, almost double that. Well, not double it, but like I'm thinking college almost doubled that. But 18-second shot clock. The length too. I mean, it's a 10-week in total. The regular season, then you get the one-on-one tournament. You include all of it when the players get down here. It's a 10-week sprint. The free throw rule, the free throw thing, I'm actually personally used to because I do games in the G League, and the G League uses the same free throw rule: 1 for 2, 1 for 3. I wish the NBA would do it. I like how Unrivaled's trying it. Got to make free throws. So if you miss free throws, that really shines, or it seeps through if you don't make your free throws. So I like the free throw thing. That's pretty cool too. So that's a general premise. We're all kind of learning more on the fly though. But yeah, I would just say I think as far as in between the lines, it's still basketball, but the smaller court is certainly that's where conditioning matters a lot more. And you might think like, well, they're only playing 7-minute quarters, and it's an untimed fourth quarter with the winning score. Well, you're running a lot more because the possessions are almost the same. the shot clock being not as much in length. And off misses, if you're the team that grabs the rebound off a miss, you want to go back the other way and maybe get numbers, especially when you have, like we watched Laces last night, Alyssa Thomas or even Kayla McBride, Tiffany Hayes. Like they've got so many players who can handle the ball. So yeah, those are some things. So you're seeing, and I think Teresa Witherspoon put it well. You'll see, like, it's 3-on-3, but you're almost just taking a layer of a 5-on-5 set that a coach would draw up, and then you're just like, you're putting a piece of it. It's a piece of a 5-on-5 set, turning into something you would run in a 2-man game. I think we've heard that if you've watched any of the games. Like you'll see little two-player sets or screen and rolls, a lot of stuff you'd see on one side of the court when there's 5 or 10 people on the floor, 5 on offense, 5 on defense.
Can you discuss your preparation, how that's changed over time? I realize that the league is just kicked off, but just in terms of your preparation compared to how you prepare for a WNBA game, I'm always nerdy about this stuff. I love sports media podcasts in terms of how this play-by-play commentators prepare for just their jobs. Can you kind of go over how your preparation goes for this league that is so new, has a lot of new elements, and that is evolving consistently every day? Can you discuss that?
Yeah, I think what really helps is knowing most of the players as far as their information is concerned, as far as all of these players were in the WNBA. So some longer than others, but I've covered them, I've watched them. I know I've had a chance to get to know some of these players more than others. Now, I think that kind of role is more important for a sideline reporter when you're trying to do human interest, and maybe for beat writers too. But I still build my same notes. I think the time with the coaches has been most impactful because only 3 of the 6 head coaches have been in the WNBA. Nola Henry, who I got to know in Connecticut, who's the head coach of Rose. T. Spoon was in Chicago last year, obviously played in the league. And Andrew Wade, 6 years in Washington. And I joked with Andrew, I'm like, I didn't even know you were, I knew of his background when I read up on him, but I'm like, Andrew Wade was an assistant coach. He was never like a top of the, I didn't work Washington. I'm just joking, but was never at the front end of their bench. So yeah, I'm saying I didn't know who Andrew was. He's only 27 years old. You know that? Andrew Wade is 27. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is.
We were doing our meetings before the broadcast, and that's been the nice part of it. They'll give us some time with the coach, and they'll bring 2 players, and I'm sitting there with, it's myself, Lisa Leslie, Allie LaForce, and we're meeting with Laces. This was Saturday. So it's Andrew, Kate Martin, and Alyssa Thomas. And he just kind of, because you know what it is? The Laces have so much experience. They have 350 more games collectively of pro games played in the W than any other team in the league. So Andrew kind of worked that in there. He says, yeah, and I'm only 27. And he said another sentence. I said, stop. I said, you're 27 years old? He's like, yeah. And Alyssa Thomas goes, isn't that crazy? Because I think even the players were stunned. But anyway, yeah, so Kate Martin's the only player that he's older than on the roster for Laces. Where was I going with that? Preparation, yeah. That kind of thing, I think, is good stuff. So the meetings with the players and the coaches to get a chance to work in some quotes. And for me, I've worked with so many great analysts in Connecticut. I've worked with so many people. Rebecca Lobo, Andrea Carter, Monica McNutt, Kim Adams has done games. I'm going to forget somebody because I've worked with so many people. And even our current crew in Connecticut with Ashley Battle, Megan McEwen, Idona Thackey's worked games with us. You do so many games that you have to make your partner feel comfortable, but also try to get on the same page. That matters for an audience. Lisa Leslie is a delight. And she is one of the nicest people I've come across. And she's, I didn't know what to expect because I've never met Lisa, but she is so sweet. I've enjoyed working with her. She's very sharp. She has a lot of studio background as of late. So how do I help Lisa flex more of those in-game muscles? But we're both learning on the fly, right? Because it's so fast. And you don't want to, you want to be on top of the play as far as calling the game, but you don't want to. You want to make sure that there's good banter and we're on top of it, especially if the game's close. But my preparation really doesn't change. I mean, like the biographical information, I got my little boards right here. I mean, it's the same deal. I mean, I'll tell you this, Justin. It's not 12. It's not 11 players. It's like 6, right? So that's like a play-by-play guy's dream. Like, only 6 are going to play. Okay, so like I'm joking. Like, I mean, if everyone's healthy, but like that part, that's what I mean. Like that part is not bad at all. But trying to dig into more, and then as we go during the season, recognizing trends. Like for example, something that we mentioned, I think I may have mentioned it, or I should have mentioned it with Jewel Lloyd or with Ryan Howard, is like instead of free throw, I like to mention when they go to the free throw line, like what their percentage is for the year. Maybe work in free throw points, because now it's not a standard 1-point free throw. It's a free throw for 2 points or a free throw for 3 points. So free throw points. Yeah. So I don't know. It's still basketball. My notes, I try to keep my same template. But once we get through a couple weeks, and maybe I pick the brain, Sarah Kustak's going to be working games with us. I can't wait to work with Sarah. She does Nets games. She's fantastic. Maybe get a little more creative in what we need to discuss. So
one more question about Unrivaled, and then I want to jump into the Connecticut Sun. With this league, I know it's still early, but you're just thoughts about how this league is going to affect the WNBA, just because this is a very fast-moving game, just in terms of maybe you'll have, you mentioned Kate Martin and others may not get playing time, in the WNBA, but playing time here, if she continues to perform, that could really affect how she's used in the WNBA. Do you foresee any consequences from this league manifesting itself into the W?
Well, I think that's an example of a positive, right, for Kate. Like, you're uncovering what else she can do, and she's also she's smart, but she's always been smart. But like what the key is, and I think that's what I love these coaches they've brought in. She's playing confident. Teaspoon is injecting confidence into Ray Burrell, and watching Kate Martin play out there with other veteran players, playing defense. I mean, she was all over the place defensively last night, getting hands in there, but just. It's amazing what happens when you get to play. And she's been very lucky. Kate, playing in Iowa, of course, with Caitlin and that team. And then you go to the Las Vegas Aces. You're on a championship caliber team. And now with this, you've got the oldest, most experienced team. But she's out there making plays. As far as the W is concerned, I think this is the idea behind this is to maybe open up an avenue for a player to get to do more things and be more crisp, be more solid. Phil Handy's preached that quite a bit with his team in Mist. I want to be able to get through to Rakia Jackson and to Aaliyah Edwards and even Dejanay Carrington, who's trying to up her offensive output at a more consistent level. She's done all the right things defensively. She's fulfilled her role player, but now even Dejanay's talked about, look, my rookie contract's over. Like she's graduating to another level of her career where she wants to be all-star form every night, and that's the key, every night. And Phil preaches that. Phil worked on 3 championship staffs in the NBA: Toronto, Cleveland, Lakers. I mean, he's been everywhere. He's worked with the greats: Kobe, Kyrie, LeBron. He's worked with Juju Watkins. Adam Harrington's worked with Sabrina Ionescu. DJ Sackman's been around the president, Alex Bazel. They've been around great players with his hoop study project. I mean, Teresa Weatherspoon, from a intangible standpoint, gets through to players as well as anybody. So I love Teaspoon's dynamic because she knows ball, don't get me wrong, but just I would play for her. The way she lifts a player up, confidence-wise, getting through. So Shakira Austin is benefiting from that. Or sorry, not Shakira Austin. Aaliyah Boston, excuse me. Aaliyah Boston has benefited from that. I mentioned Ray Burrell of Vinyl. So I think this is all. So I think it's an incomplete, Justin, because I'm really curious to see what it looks like next summer when we see these players and how their coaches might utilize them. And I will make mention of this, especially last night, because we didn't end until like midnight last night. It was a late night. WNBA coaches and staff are coming to these games. They're in the building. I mean, Becky Hammond was there last night. Kurt Miller, who's now the GM in Dallas. Chris Koklanis, the head coach, they were in the building last night. they've been coming in and out, all the coaches. So if I definitely missed a few. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, they've been in and out of the building. They're watching and they're keeping an eye on how, and and I think they're looking at it from the basketball standpoint, how to utilize some of their players. So I think there's going to be, and like for Phil Handy, he wants to be a head coach. So good for Phil. I think they're trying to figure out, he's trying to prove like, hey, I'm taking this stuff seriously, and the player development side, how coaches then use it. And the other obvious one, as far as the W is concerned, is look what they're doing to take care of them and all the resources. I mean, it's not quite what you asked, but I think that's like antennas are up, right? Like that's a big one. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think we need to see it for 1 year. Like then we'll get, and that's a very boring answer, but we need to see what it looks like from when this group of 36, and I'm sure there might be some more players coming in and out. And I'm only saying that because, well, we saw with Phantom, team's going to get hurt. It's inevitable. It's 6 players, 10 weeks. Like, there's a lot of basketball for 3 games. Well, most teams, it's 2 games and 3 nights or a back-to-back. We're already seeing them. Tisha Heideman's here. They're already going to another player. So of this 36-ish group, how they look in their next stop and how it impacts their team. And like Sabrina Ionescu, the last one I'll say on this is Sabrina Ionescu has been pretty outspoken about this, about, hey, and look, Olympian, she's won a championship, one of the rising stars in the league. And she's still, she's younger than Stewie. She's younger than Nafisa Collier. Like Sabrina's on that. Sabrina's in that kind of weird middle. And then you got that rookie class coming up, or this past rookie class. But Sabrina's been pretty outspoken. Like, look, this is our off season. She said so she didn't want to put words in everyone's mouth. This is my off season. She just had surgery on that ligament in her thumb. She's playing, as we know, but she's ramping it up for another season. And I'll let the audience think about it for a second. Sabrina's got a lot of other endeavors that she has to take care of, and that's a very weird. That's something you got to be careful with this, right? You don't want to see someone like Marina Mabry's out for a few weeks. You don't want someone to get banged up to the point where they're missing time in the summer. So you got to keep that in mind. As much as we're excited about the physicality and the up and down nature of the 3-on-3, Sabrina's been, and that's Sabrina. That's not me. I'm not speculating. Sabrina's been outspoken about, hey, I take my off season very seriously, building up for another summer. So there's going to be some weird roller coaster turbulence that we're going to have to through one weekend, and so far so good.